tired, so tired, overtired.
Hey everybody, welcome to the Brett and Geoff show, formerly known as Overtired, technically still Overtired, but we gave Christina the week off and we did not bring in a guest. So it's me, Brett Terpstra, here with Geoff Severance Gunsel. How's it going, Geoff?
Good. Gave Christina a week off.
We did. We offered. We're like,
up here in our corner offices, our overtired corner offices. You know, I've been noticing. Maybe you need a little time off. It's none of my business.
Just give me your gun and your badge, and we're letting you go for the week.
We miss you, Christina.
Yeah, Christina has shit to do, you know, as happens on occasion. More often to her than to us. She's more of a jet-setting lifestyle than either of us currently have.
Jet
to
City.
Be fair,
she's a Jet City woman, to quote the Queensryche song.
So hey, that brings us to some a mental health corner, if you will. Geoff, how you doing?
I'm doing good. I'm drinking black coffee because I'm on the Whole30.
Stare at the wall. I know that.
And stare at the wall. Yes. I was like retaining all kinds of water because of a medication, and the advice is like higher potassium, lower sodium, like whatever else. I'm like, oh, I used to do the Whole30 diet like every January just to sort of help me to pull back, because I don't do moderation with almost anything, but I can do like a really strict framework, and it helps me to just sort of like reset. And it also just reminds me that I can actually make decisions that help me. And that is just like a really great thing. And so anyway, I'm doing the Whole30 right now. And that means like I'm not having any dairy. So I'm drinking black coffee, which is fucking disgusting. What am I, a cop? It's not, I do not like black coffee.
Man, I drink black coffee every morning.
I thought I could get with it, but instead, I just nurse like the same 2 cups all day long. Anyway, not that interesting, just to say that that's helping how I feel overall and helping my mental health. I also got re-up on a steroid shot in my lower back. So I'm feeling like a brand new man. Cannot emphasize enough that steroids are not just for baseball players. Everybody should try them. You can really just like change your life. And it has for me in my back. And otherwise, I don't know, like the medication balance feels right now. It's been really nice weather out. We've been able to start gardening. And that's really exciting. So I'm feeling pretty good. Brett, how about you?
I would like to point out, and our listeners don't know this yet, but that mental health corner update took you 3 edits. Which I feel is indicative of a mental health state. Like we had to do that 3 times for you to, and you said basically the same thing every time, but you kept stopping yourself and saying, nope, can we edit this? And our listeners are hearing the finished product. Our listeners are hearing your best. They're hearing what you
smooth
approve.
As warm milk on a banana peel.
But do you feel like that's a sign of you being okay?
I think, you know what it is? It's actually just a sign of something that I'm still getting used to, which is like, how do I actually want to answer the question in the context of a podcast?
Sure.
And it's something that I'm really learning doing this podcast. It's like, it's not that I want to be dishonest, but I don't owe anybody my full honesty either. You know what I mean? Like so what I'm trying to do is to pick things that are true and be as sort of descriptive as is useful about those things.
Yeah.
Knowing, of course, just like in any social environment, there are things that I'm also not saying, or that I'm kind of, there are roads that I could kind of start to go down and think in a conversation, you kind of can't do anything about it. But in a podcast, you can be like, hey, can I try that again? and for me, that's actually what that's about. It's something I fret over sometimes, as I'm getting used to being a podcaster. Just knowing that there is already, just in the whatever, how many episodes we've done together, quite a bit of information that otherwise would not have been available to anybody, except maybe my family, and my closest friends. And now it's available to really anybody who decides for some reason or another to click on that podcast. And so I think what was going on for me was there were a couple of little paths that I started going down. I'm like, no, I don't actually want to go down that path just yet. I talked about this a few episodes ago where it was like, why did I not talk about being bipolar earlier? And that I wanted to be sure that I didn't lock myself into a narrative. And so those are the two things that I think about a lot being a podcaster that talks about mental health. One, am I doing this in such a way that I'm locking myself as my own audience into a narrative? And two, am I sharing something that actually I'd rather just kind of keep over here? So anyway, that's me.
Yeah. Okay. All of this makes sense. I will tell you that I have learned from 20 years of being a fairly public figure that, especially when it comes to podcasts, when it comes to recorded audio, yes, when you say something and put it out on the internet, it is permanent, but it's also not showing up in Google searches. Mm. And only people who care enough to dig in will learn the things that you share. And by and large, I have made more friends from being just brutally open about my entire life. I have made more friends that way than I have made enemies. And I'm not here to tell you how to present yourself on a podcast. I'm just saying that for me, like, I can't help, but I just tell people shit. You talk to me at a party, I will tell you all kinds of stuff that you didn't ask for. And as far as public internet availability goes, that's only bitten me a couple times. You can get away with a lot of shit.
Yeah, I guess, but that's different in a way, right? Because like for me, it's not about like, oh, I said that thing, but thankfully no one will find it because of the format at all, right? It's really just more. So like, when you say something into a microphone that goes out to an audience, you like send a little piece of yourself out into the world, right? And that little piece of yourself that you sent out into the world, you like dressed it up just like a paper doll. You dressed it up how you wanted to dress it up, right? You gave it eyes, you made it mad or sad or happy or whatever. You sent it out. Like that is for me, the way I feel about that stuff is like, I feel that piece is out there. I feel that piece of me is out there roaming around. Like I'm generally conscious of the fact.
You remember that you said it and put it out there.
Exactly.
I don't. That's different for me.
Yeah. So I remember everything that I have shared so far on these podcasts. I also feel that way. I mean, it's a cousin of a thing that happens to me in social situations, which is like, and not as bad anymore, thanks to therapy. But like I used to leave like a dinner party and just start analyzing everything I said. Like, what did I say? Did I take up too much space? Was I too rough about this? Did I really consider that maybe this person had an experience that like I would just like obsessively review the tapes. And that's like a cousin of this thing, but it's not as neurotic, right?
So how is your memory? Like, do you consider yourself to have a good memory?
My memory is terrible, weirdly, but
me too. Like, and I don't remember half the shit I've said, even on this podcast, let alone elsewhere on the internet. If it weren't for the searchability of my blog, I wouldn't. The fact is, I write about things I learn on my blog so that I can find them on Google later when I've forgotten how to do them. Like, I don't remember coming home from a party, like my partner or whoever I'm traveling with can say, why did you say this to this person? And I will have already forgotten that the conversation happened. So what you're describing right now sounds like a memory that I could only aspire to.
Yeah, except you know how people sometimes say like for me, I remember the things that I like the way I can remember certain things. I wish I could apply elsewhere. So like the extent to which I remember details and dates from the first full book I read on my own, which was Hammer of the Gods, the very falsified biography of Led Zeppelin. Like the extent to which I can remember dates and details from that book, including of course the notorious ones, but like can't remember certain really important things about like a research paper I read last week is like super frustrating.
Yeah.
But
I get that. Memory is, for ADHD people especially, memory is a tough thing.
And I want to ask you about your mental health. I wanted to say there's something you brought up that my wife and I were talking about the other day, which is like the one thing about the podcast medium. It's, we're probably not too far, I would imagine, from like decent enough AI that transcripts are just generated and searchable of all these podcasts, right? And so all this stuff that you were like, yeah, nobody see, all of a sudden it's like, Jesus Christ, now when people search my name, all they see is like my bullshitting about this or this or this. I feel like the whole kind of John Roderick Bean Dad phenomenon, or not phenomenon, but like the incident, the like very like, well, it is what it is. I feel like if that had happened somehow on the podcast, on Roderick on the Line and not on Twitter, it would have likely passed by without notice. But because it was on Twitter, it became quite a very serious thing with very serious ramifications. And like, that is to me a little bit of a chilling distinction to think of that fact, right?
Sure.
And think like, will I be in a situation one day where it's just like, wow, had I just said that on the podcast, anyway.
DuckDuckGo unfollowed me on Twitter, and I don't know what I said or did. But for a long time, DuckDuckGo has followed me. There's a bang terp. There's a shortcut for searching my website on DuckDuckGo. You can type !TERP and then anything you want, and it will search my website from DuckDuckGo. And they just unfollowed me. And I maybe my bang terp search is going to go away too. I don't know what I did.
Wow. I'm sorry.
I did post that mrx.ist was available as a domain for like $16. And I posted, this would be a great way to set up a custom URL shortener that would trigger all of your conservative friends. And immediately, some company from Istanbul parked it with GoDaddy.
Wow.
So Marxist is no longer available.
Man, also, it's always good to note the decision of the hosting company. They went GoDaddy.
Right? Yeah, as soon as I saw it was parked with GoDaddy, I knew it was
Pick up the phone, give me GoDaddy, quick. Daddy, it's me.
So anyway, my mental health. Let's talk about my mental health.
Yes, please.
Oh my God. I'm still stable. I've had like a couple nights where I got like I couldn't sleep, and immediately my mind thought, oh shit, I'm having a manic episode, and I'm looking at 5+ days without sleep, and this is how it begins. And then around 3 or 4 a.m., I fall asleep and everything goes back to normal. And overall, I continue to be stable as far as bipolar goes, which gives me plenty of time to think about my ADHD and the fact that Vyvanse is not the ideal way for me to treat my ADHD, but it is the ideal companion to my bipolar disorder. And like, I have to continually, how like married couples say, we continually make the decision to say I do. And like, we've been married for 30 years and every day we've made the decision to say I do. And for me, I have been stable for 4 months now. And every day I have to make the decision to stay on an ADHD medication that is not terribly effective for me. But make that trade-off. And it's working out. It really is. It is. I have been going on hikes. We Winona in
You got
Minnesota.
good
here.
hikes over there.
Yeah, we have good hikes in Winona. Like we have 16 miles of trail systems just down the road from me on Garvin Heights. But we have been traveling over the river. We live right on the border. And we have been traveling into Wisconsin and exploring the DNR managed land that Wisconsin has to offer. And we have found this, it's kind of, it's right off the highway. There's this little, the brown sign that like before any like government agency park. There's a little brown sign. You turn off the road and there's like a road. It's not a trail. It's an actual, like you could drive a truck down it. And it's a road that goes deep into these wetlands, about 2 miles into wetlands and forest and lake. And it is just an amazing hike. And we have seen trumpeter swans and we have seen goslings and geese, and we've identified probably 40 different bird species. And there's like little landings where you can step out and see like schools of catfish. Do catfish school? All I know is it's a bunch of catfish. And it's a crazy fun nature walk, and we see something new every time we do it. And it has been something we've been doing it in the mornings when it's very unpopulated, because we take our dog with us and our dog does not get along with other dogs. So the lower the likelihood that we'll run into another person with a dog, the easier our hike will be. So we go early mornings. We go at like 7:30 a.m. and we walk between 1 and 3 miles of this just wetland hike. And it has been so good for me. Like my brain is just, it's happy all day after an outing like that. I get a day, even maybe 2 days of just like endorphin high from these nature walks. They're amazing.
Brett, this is an amazing update. This is an amazing mental health corner.
Thanks.
I'm so happy for you.
Yeah. Where do you hike? Do you hike?
Yeah, we do hike. There are a few just sort of smaller parks that have good hiking trails around here, and then there's also like an arboretum. Hello, Chanhassen.
Yeah. We have a listener in Chanhassen.
That's right. I know. That's what I'm saying. There's an incredible, the University of Minnesota has this incredible arboretum, and you can just kind of go there any month and you're going to see something different. It's blooming, whatever else. And so, we'll go there for hikes. Yeah. I like hikes. Although for the last few months, because of my back, I couldn't walk like 2 blocks. And so it's been amazing to just go out and do that. You got any bogs on this particular?
Oh my God. Yeah. This like half this walk is so my property, we own about 3 acres of land in Winona that goes from Bluff. You're familiar with the side of a very small mountain, right?
Yeah.
We go from Bluff down to forest land, down to wetland, including a marsh and a bog. And then if you make it through that, you get down to a creek. And it's gorgeous all the way down. And our project for the summer is to build. Over the years, this has gotten, like, trees have fallen and brush has gotten overgrown. There's even a little pond on our property, and with tons of like frogs and algae blooms and everything. It's gotten hard to navigate. Even in winter when everything's dead and frozen over, like it's still hard to get down to the creek. So our project for the summer is to blaze a trail.
Ooh.
And we're picking up a chainsaw next weekend or this coming weekend. And we're going to be machetes and chainsaws and laying down logs and gravel and just building a trail through all of this wetland and marsh and bog to get from our house to the creek and see everything in between.
I know this is obvious, but it bears repeating. Careful with that chainsaw.
So I learned,
especially when you're using it for brush clearing and stuff.
we got some rough training. I learned about what's it called, the kickback region of the chainsaw.
Oh yeah,
Like if you touch a hard surface with this part of the chainsaw, it will fly back into your forehead and embed itself there.
You don't want that.
No, that is a negative. That's considered by and large a bad thing.
Yeah.
So I've gotten a little training. We're going to do some safety courses. We're getting an electric chainsaw.
Wait, whoa. How far are you going? You got like 100 foot, 200 foot, 300 foot extension cord?
No, it's battery powered, dude.
Oh, electric for me is like, yeah, I get it. I'm very old. I'm very old.
Yeah.
That's awesome. That's exciting. It plays a path.
They have cars that work without being plugged in now, too.
Shut the fuck up.
So, hey.
Yeah.
How have your dreams been? We were talking before the show a little bit about dreams, and we both said, let's save it for the show.
Yeah.
So let's talk about dreams.
Yeah. So my dreams have been great, thanks to a drug called Prazosin. And I am known for my terrible dreams. And that's been true for about 20 plus years, since having some very specific experiences in war zones. My dreams have been just horrible and bloody and violent and just gory and all the time, man, all the time. And, about a month ago, it was after the thing in Ukraine started, but then also a friend of mine went over there as a journalist and was close enough to things that, it kind of triggered my own memories and worry and vigilance and all that stuff. And I started having dreams that were, worse than they ever had been, more violent than they ever had been, more gory. And I did not think that was possible. I mean, I would wake up and it was just chilling. And so I mentioned to my medication manager, and Big Joel,
AKA psychiatrist.
And, yeah, psychiatric nurse practitioner. Not Big Joel. I just thought, sounds like a good medication manager, and suggested something that's used for veterans a lot, apparently around nightmares, this drug Prazosin. And man, from the time I started taking it, I have not had a single nightmare, which I mostly have nightmares. I've not had a single nightmare, and my dreams are so delightfully fucking stupid. Like I was going to go to a baseball game, with friend of the show, future guest, Danny Glamour. And I had a dream that, before the game that I was picking out a baseball cap for him. And it was just a extra large baseball cap with a really huge bill that just said Grand Slam.
Does he have a big head?
No, it doesn't have a big head. And so, you could take it up with him, but it's just like my dreams now. I remember them all. They said maybe I wouldn't remember them, but they're just so stupid and nothing happens. And it's just like, I love this dream life. So I'm dreaming nothing, and I'm dreaming nothing real good. You?
Well, I generally, by and large, I assume mostly because of my medication, I have pretty mundane dreams that I immediately forget when I wake up. And rarely have I woken up, like occasionally, like I'll wake up at say 3 a.m. and I'll be in the middle of a good dream and I'll remember wanting to fall asleep again to get back to the dream. But later on, I won't remember what the dream was. But last weekend, I use one of those 7-day pill boxes with the little like flip tops, and you put in your pills. And usually,
got one in the house purse.
If I'm gonna run out of a pill within those 7 days or immediately after, I put the empty bottle somewhere where I'll see it and remember to call in the refill, because my insurance won't let me call it in a week in advance. So I got to wait until it's like a day or two before it runs out.
This story's going. Uh-huh.
So somehow my empty bottle didn't make it to the countertop where I would usually remember to call in my meds. So I finish what's in the pill box and I go to grab one night's worth out of the pill bottle and it's empty. And it's after the pharmacy is closed. And this is a pill that if you suddenly go off it, you can have seizures.
Oh, Jesus.
And it takes, there's a titration period, but missing a single dose can fuck up. It's Lamictal. And it's not a hardcore drug, but like suddenly stopping it can have dire consequences. So my brain freaks out a little. And yeah, I can make it through a night. But I also get these like full body, I don't know if you've ever been through withdrawal. Anything?
Drug? Yes, not from like street drugs.
Yeah, like nicotine, alcohol, heroin, I don't care. Like there's this full body, it starts with this like full body skin crawling feeling. And you get that when you miss a dose of Lamictal. So I've got that and I just have to close my eyes and try to sleep through it because maybe it's Saturday night. No, it's Friday or Saturday night. And I don't know if when I call in the med, it says I can't get any till Tuesday because of the holiday weekend. So I'm freaking out. I don't know if I'm going to be able to get any more, but I go to sleep anyway. And I managed to fall asleep and I have a really rough night of sleep, but I have really good dreams.
Ooh.
So the dream I most remember is I owned an underground music store in Japan. Mm-hmm. I don't know where this came from. I don't know why this would be a desire of mine, but no one on the podcast can see this, but you're sitting in an orange room.
I sure am.
And in the dream, I was in an orange like cubicle room with a swimming pool, and in the middle of the swimming pool there was a ladder that went up into the ceiling. And when you got up into the ceiling, there was me with maybe 50 rows of vinyl records of Japanese punk, hip hop, and metal. And I'm just sitting there and I am DJing and I am selling these records to all Japanese customers. And like, I don't have like any strong attachment, nor have I ever been to Japan, but this was all in Japan with Japanese customers. And I was this white guy selling Japanese punk, hip hop, and metal to exclusively Japanese customers in this record shop you could only get to through an orange room with a swimming pool and a ladder. And it stuck with me. Like, I can still see it in my
towel?
brain.
You want to look around? That's wonderful. I love it. I love it. I love it. That's great, Brett. Wait, hold on now.
I did the next morning. I called the pharmacy, and the med that the computer had told me wouldn't be available till Tuesday, they're like, oh yeah, we got that filled. You can pick it up now. So the next day, before noon, I was able to take the missed dose from the night before and then get back on schedule. So everything's been fine since.
That's good. That's excellent. And also I'm imagining what you just described. What you just described as like the backstory for a character that got cut from Tokyo Drift.
It honestly, if I had to put it into a movie, it would have been in Akira.
Okay.
Like the old anime classic.
Yeah.
It was definitely a record store it was like Akira mixed with Blade Runner.
Nice. All right, listen, you need to do a sponsor read. Before you do, I just want to clear something up. You said I'm in an orange room. It's actually Exotic Blossom.
I didn't want to say that out loud. I didn't know how you feel about that.
Which is also my street name. All right. Speaking of blossoms.
Hey, You guys know how we love the break-in protection that Simply Safe Home Security gives you, but it's not always outside forces that you need Simply Safe's protection from. This is Terry's story, a Simply Safe customer. Terry was away for the weekend for her daughter's wedding. The morning of the big day, she got a call from Simply Safe's 24/7 professional monitoring center, and they let her know that her system had detected water in her basement. In moments like this, time is critical because even an inch of flooding can cause more than $25,000 in damages. Thankfully, Simply Safe had detected the water just moments after the leaking had started. After talking to Simply Safe, Terry called her neighbor, who quickly turned the water in her home off before the flooding got bad. Protecting against floods is just one of the reasons that 4 million people trust their home protection to Simply Safe. With a comprehensive Simply Safe system and 24/7 professional monitoring, you can have someone always looking out for you, just like Terry. Plans cost under $1 a day with no long-term contracts or hidden fees ever. You can customize the perfect system for your home in just a few minutes at simplysafe.com/overtired. Go today and claim a free indoor security camera plus 20% off with interactive monitoring. Go to simplysafe.com/overtired. That's SIMPLISAFE, simplysafe.com/overtired.
I'm looking at the time and I have something in here that says Geoff has a screencast idea to pitch to Brett. I'm going to try it out. I'm going to try it out on you. I'm going to pitch this to you as a live pitch session recorded.
Okay. Screencast ideas. Geoff, go.
A couple of years ago, I hired Brett to come on and work on this project I'm working on called the Lived Experience Project. And it's a largely research-based project around kids' experiences in the juvenile justice system with a definite sort of abolitionist bent. And there's just all sorts of stuff that I was doing all the time that I thought, man, having somebody like Brett Terpstra could really help me with this. And so I was like, hey, Brett Terpstra, could you really help me with this? We started working together. It was a few things, right? You were building the website. You built our website, discoverlexproject.com or .org.
Yeah.
Right. We were doing some initial sort of automation and workflow stuff. And then we started working on sort of a sort of suite of tools that helped to process interviews and transcripts. Anyways, blah, blah, blah. So one of the things that I asked you to do early on, was I was like, hey, we're looking at code together. I have a ton of questions as we go. Can I just record the screen and make my own little private screencast of this so that I can go back not just to what you were saying, but kind of see what we were looking at in the code. And I loved doing that. And Brett, I recently found those recordings. And they're actually like little awesome podcasts with just like coding happening on the screen. And little delightful moments would happen. Like you'd be like, well, let me just Google this because I'm not sure what to do about this. And you'd go, oh, that's a post I wrote solving this problem. And
That's what I'm talking about.
I found the whole thing really delightful. And I've had this thing in my head. I think I may have mentioned it to you a long, long time ago, but I want to see if you'll go for it. So you're working on Bunch. Bunch is fantastic. Bunch is pretty difficult to explain, which is funny because it's actually quite simple in its execution, right? You can make it as complicated as you want, but it's like so like wonderfully elegant, right? And so here's what I want to propose. I want to propose that you and I get together, throw your computer screen up on the recording, and we work our way through some key parts of Bunch, right? And I ask you questions. And it's like almost like an interview / screencast, right? That demonstrates what it can do, but also brings in some of the story of like Bunch has a great story. I just feel like you started to create it so long ago, right? And then all of a sudden, like, what is it? 2 years ago, you started putting tons of energy into it, right? Yeah. And ever since then, it's been almost impossible to keep up. Like you and I would have one of our kind of weekly meetings and you'd be like, so you're not going to fucking believe what I just put in a bunch. And like, it's true. I didn't fucking believe what you put in a bunch. It's like, oh my God. And I just would love to create something that has some of that energy, because there's so much with you in developing that app. I've been sort of blessed to be able to see the Brett end of things. And there's so many times when you're just kind of giddy about something you've added to Bunch. And I don't think there's any other way to reflect that.
There are features in Bunch that were entirely because of you.
Oh,
Well, you'd be in a meeting. You'd be like, well, so here's what I want to do with Bunch. And I would say, well, it can't do that. And then the next week I would come back and say, so now it can do that.
And these 16 other things. Yes,
that thing you needed it to do. Yeah, that would be fun. Cause I've done a few talks where I've talked about Bunch, and I've done a few like presentations with screencasts where I've broken down like basically a bunch and explained how a bunch works. But the idea of doing it as an interview, of having someone actually present like, here's a problem, what's the solution, and do it in real time. Yeah, that could be really compelling.
Okay, then we'll schedule that.
Yeah, let's do it.
Awesome. Because I love Bunch so much. And
it will be thoroughly edited to remove out the part where I'm like, I Google my own stuff.
Well, that stuff won't get cut, but that's just amazing.
Yeah.
All right. That's my pitch. That's my idea. So I'm realizing that I did not pick something for Graptitude.
Shit, me either.
But I want to actually, I want to have one more topic that might kind of lead us both to something we like. Okay. So I have this topic in here called, Hey Computer, Tell Me What to Do Next with My Life.
Yeah.
It's a little dramatic, but, recently, and actually by recently, I mean, for the last like 3 or 4 months, like I look at Hacker News at the end of each day. I think it's just a wonderful curation of links that happen. I mean, just fully fabulous. It pretty much like, scratches on my itches. Is that what I'm trying to say? Itches on my scratches. And what I end up doing is, a lot of times it's just like, I just like throw stuff straight into, Instapaper or straight into Pinboard, depending on what it is, or if it's a GitHub repo, I star it, right? And I have been in this sort of place of recognizing that like my main project is very likely going to end at the end of this year. The thing that I've been doing for like 5-6 years. And that is most of my income and most of my time. The other project I'm working on has a very short timeline, and I'm thinking a lot about like, what do I want to do next? But also what do I want to learn, or like kind of, what do I want to do like a deep dive into? I like don't exactly have an answer. And then I realized that the answer probably lies in a full review of the things that I go in Hacker News, where I kind of go, oh, I'm going to throw that into Instapaper. I'm going to throw that into, Pinboard. And I'm going to star that in GitHub. Right. And so I've started kind of gathering all of that stuff together and realizing how grateful I am for those 3 services, and also how consistent they've been in my life for so long. Instapaper, Pinboard, and GitHub. And so I think, I'm personally going to choose Pinboard as something I'm just so incredible.
Oh,
we knew how much we loved it. As soon as
you said that, I'm like, maybe I'll pick Pinboard. But yeah, okay.
Well, and we knew we already knew we loved it. And then for a day it disappeared, right? Remember that? And the entire world was just like, fuck, I did not. And I honestly was shocked.
I posted a tweet with the IP address of Pinboard. So because the DNS went down, Pinboard didn't go down. The DNS for it went down, and you could still get to it if you added a host in your /etc/host file. You could add a direct IP address for Pinboard and still get to it. I posted that on Twitter, got a ton of like retweets, and even Pinboard Twitter account liked it. And I still have it in my host file to this day.
Well, I love it so much. For anybody that doesn't know, it's a bookmarking service, and it's very no frills. It's got
Do you remember Delicious? Because it's delicious.
Yes.
Plus.
It's delicious without design, and I actually love that. It's that kind of Craigslist thing of like, wow, this is never going to change, and that's great because it's really doing the job. And also, I pay the annual fee so that you can do a full text search of any of the bookmarks that are in there, which is just to me like a kind of bananas feature.
Yeah.
But right now, what I'm using.
Let's explain that further, because it's $25 a year, but you can do a search that hits any text in any page you've bookmarked at any point. Like, you don't have to create descriptions or tags or anything. You basically have a private Google that only searches the links that you have intentionally bookmarked. It's insanely good.
Which, like, as a feature, I can imagine getting really excited about a web app that was the front facing feature, right?
Yeah.
But instead it's just this kind of like little thing off to the side. If you want to pay a little money, you can do this. And so the way I'm having it tell me what to do next with my life is like, I just kind of created one tag that will kind of hold all the things that I'm bookmarking or have bookmarked that I want to like speak back to me. And then as I tag them all individually, it's forming its own kind of logic. And then I'm looking at that logic and going like, oh, well, clearly I would love to go deeper here, So anyway, Pinboard, love you, Pinboard. Thanks for not going away.
Yeah. Man, I should. So is this gratitude now?
Oh yeah. That was my gratitude mixed in with a topic. See?
Yeah.
I dissolved it into a topic.
I was going to do Fantastical, but so there was an app called Spillo.
Spillo, spelled?
Spillo.
Okay.
That worked with Pinboard to give you a kind of newsreader approach to your pins on Pinboard. And it fell into disrepair. It still works, and I still use it, but there is a newer, more modern app called Pins, and I will link both of these. But Pins, like any of these apps, give you basically a 3-pane view with like your left pane being your types of bookmarks, all unread, public, private, untagged, tagged, etc. And then the center column being the bookmarks that exist in any of those left column categories, and your right column being a preview of the web page. And Pinboard, as you mentioned in passing, is very undesigned. It is not an ideal way to, it is an absolutely ideal way to bookmark. The idea, Delicious was a Yahoo property, if I recall correctly, and it was designed
by the time it died. It was
it was designed for social bookmarking. Like, you bookmark things for other people to see. And when Yahoo sunset Delicious, Pinboard sprung up as anti-social bookmarking, where you had to opt in to sharing your bookmarks, and everything by default was private. And it's still like, I use it for discovery. I browse other people's public bookmarks to see what they're bookmarking. The web excursions posts that come out on brettterpstra.com are all driven by Pinboard. When I add a bookmark to Pinboard, I can add a .blogit tag, and the dot makes the tag private, so it's not people don't see that tag on the pin. But when I tag something with .blogit, when I get 5 of those collected, it puts out a post on my blog that lists 5 things that I've determined need to be blogged about. And tagging is critical to the Pinboard experience. Pins, the more modern version of Spillo is a great way to browse and navigate, especially if you use Pinboard as a read later kind of service. If you use it as an Instapaper replacement, an app like Pins or Spillo is kind of necessary to actually review the content you've bookmarked. So my pick for the week will be Pins.
I've been using Pins throughout this process.
Yeah.
Although I also discovered an amazing little feature in Pinboard. So part of the reason I use Pins is, let's just say there's a problem where you might want to, I bookmark something and then I want to edit that bookmark, but I need to reference the actual page to edit it. Like maybe I want to copy some text that I put into the description, whatever. And with Pinboard, I was always kind of going back and forth, but Pinboard, if you're has a little option called organize, and it actually turns the sort of Pinboard interface into a situation where there's a browser on the bottom, like say 3/4, and the top quarter is actually just all open fields to edit your bookmarks. So you can just be looking at the page and editing it. It's awesome. It's not intuitive that it would be organized, but it's a super cool little feature that is one of the things I go to pins for. Anyway.
Yeah. Okay. I'm going to check this out later because I'm not sure what you're talking about. And that sounds really cool. But yeah, I mean, Pinboard it's ugly. Let's be honest. It's not a pretty website, and it hasn't been updated since its inception. I have written like plugins that stylize Pinboard a little bit more and make it prettier, but it does what it needs to do, and it does it. And there's it incorporated basically the entire Delicious API. And it replicated everything the Delicious API could do and then added a little more on top of it. But the fact is, it's a bookmarking site and it saves your bookmarks, and you always have them available to export in multiple formats, and you can access them through an API that does everything you need it to do. And honestly, if Pinboard never changed, never updated, and just continue to exist for the next, we'll say 10 years, I would be extremely happy and happy to pay my monthly fee for Pinboard.
Yeah, exactly. Well said, Brett Terpstra.
All right. So it's a Pinboard week. It's a Pinboard week.
Pinboard week.
We got a couple minutes left here. I'm going to check our topic list real quick, but I kind of do want to tell you about my TV setup.
Oh, yeah, the immersive TV situation. Yeah, great.
I think I've mentioned something about this before, but I got this. Okay, so background. We have a basement that it was purely. It was okay for people in the South. A basement is a floor underneath your top floor, like your first floor. It's subterranean. All right, you with me so far?
All right, so listeners, I got
it. So our basement was purely storage. I cleared enough space out to put in a futon and a 65-inch television and some speakers and a subwoofer, and built myself a little entertainment center down there. One that is just isolated enough that I can listen to a TV show or a movie at a reasonable volume level and not disturb the rest of the house. And it was kind of a great place for me to hide. What I added to it was this. Well, at first I tried a system that was in HDMI. You put like an LED strip around the outside back of the television. And then it intercepted the HDMI signal and then would light up the wall behind the television based on what was on the TV screen. And it didn't work great. I was not impressed with the way the colors matched. And it also broke all of my, the ability for the Apple remote to turn on the TV. because there was basically a breaker between the TV and the Apple TV where it was intercepting the HDMI signal. It broke all kinds of functionality. So what I ended up getting was this Govee, Govee, lighting system that uses a camera that sits about 3 inches out of the top of the television and watches the screen. And then it has an LED strip around the outside back of the television and 2 standing light bars that face the wall about 20 inches on either side of the television. And that has been amazing.
Really? It's not distracting or anything? I always wondered.
It's totally distracting. My ADHD, when I want stimulus, I want sound and I want my vision saturated. And when I want that, the soundbar and the subwoofer and this entire wall of light is perfect for me. When there are times when I can't handle that. Like I have moods. And there are times where upstairs so the 65-inch TV was in our very small living room and it was too big for that room. Yeah. Like our couch is like maybe 10 feet from the screen and 65 inches is too much for a room that size. It's 8 feet at best. So I moved that down to where I need the stimulation. And now we have like a reasonable, I think 35-inch screen in that small living room where Elle and I can both watch a TV screen and not get headaches.
But in the basement,
when I'm in the mood that I need the stimulus overload, that 65-inch TV, a wall full of light that matches the TV screen and immersive sound is amazing. It's amazing. Awesome. It's exactly what I need. There's a song by a band called Kite called Johnny Boy, and the video has a lot of flickering black and white. And this camera keeps up with the flickering to the extent where as the flickering happens on the TV screen, the entire wall flickers in perfect sync with it. And it's like, if you've ever watched, like if you slow down a film roll enough that you start to see the flicker, it's that just full body. It's kind of amazing.
That's super cool. I love it.
I'm gonna link the Govee system because it's actually cheaper than any of the HDMI intercept systems.
Awesome.
And yeah, what does it cost? Hold on. The entire system with the light bars is $150.
Okay.
The whole thing. The TV will cost you more than that, but for $150, anything from I think maybe a 55 to 65-inch TV is what it works with. And
that's awesome.
It'll blow your mind.
That sounds great.
Yeah. All right. So we got our one sponsor in. We got some mental health. We got some TV shit. We got some other stuff. Are we done?
I feel like we've done a really good job.
I just slammed the rest of my coffee. I got energy for this. I got energy to end this now.
I got to go pick up my kids, man.
It was a good show.
Yeah.
It was a good Brett and Geoff show.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it. Should I tell you to get some sleep? And should you tell me the same?
I feel like that's about to happen.
Get some sleep.
Get some sleep, Geoff.
The system is going down now.